The All Smiling Faces podcast is now sponsored by TireSpot, the Northeast's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. TireSpot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tirespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube channel and podcast. And we are here with your very last video of the weekend as Newcastle United head down to Wembley to take on Liverpool. We've titled this one "Nerves Setting in, Mark," because I think on the run up to this one, obviously we had the West Ham game on Monday, which was a bit of a distraction for grade 3 points on the road. And as the week's gone on, I've been quite chilled about it. I'm not gonna lie. Now that it's the night before we're set off, I'm getting nervous now, mate. How about you?
I was fine until you started mentioning getting nervous. Now I'm like, whoa. No, I'm still feeling good. I'm excited. I can't wait to just get down to London, enjoy the weekend, and celebrate a famous victory.
Oh wow! He's gone straight in there. But we thought we would just throw something out there tonight, because I know everybody. Yes, I'm saying nervous, but a lot of it, like you just said, Mark, it is sheer excitement. I think that's what it is at the end of the day. Like I said, I've been pretty chilled, but I think now do you know what it is? It's just typical Newcastle United and myself as a fan. The closer I get to the fixture, the more optimistic I get, and I'm thinking, we could do it. Like, we could do it now. Like, just last week, I'm going, need chance. Like, no, not a chance in hell. And now, I'm fully expecting to walk away with the cup.
Yeah, I think to the amount of content that has been coming out of the club and sponsors and stuff like that in the last kind of 24 hours is just been, taking the levels up and up and up. And like this morning, I was watching videos, watching the press conference, and that was it. Not only were we winning the League Cup, but we're winning the World Cup, the Euros, the lot. Just bring it all on.
I think what we should talk on is the press conference, because there's two press conferences that the club have put out. There's one with Eddie Howe, which I've only watched about 15 minutes of, but it's very much an Eddie Howe-esque press conference. Doesn't really give too much away. But the other one, which I was very shocked at, was that the club have put out and put on display Bruno and Isaac. A couple of question marks which I have over that. I think Bruno comes across really well. Bruno is just very relaxed about the situation and just laughing his way through it. And he's quite comical throughout it, Bruno. But a part of that press conference, it took a bit of a turn where the reporters and the journalists in the room start paying attention towards Alexander Isak and his future without necessarily saying, are you happy at the club, or do you want to move away from the club? The kind of tiptoe around it, and Isak says as a footballer he's got a lot of ambitions and goals. We know he's got a lot of goals, but lots of ambitions about the future. And I can't remember which journalist it is, so apologies. But they turn around and say, "Can you achieve those at this football club?" Which I thought, that's a bit on borderline. That how did you take it all?
To be fair, it's the way the press have been for months and months with them now, isn't it? Like, it's that underlying current from them of literally trying to force them out of the door and almost say that, you're not going to achieve everything that you potentially want to achieve. You're going to have to move to a bigger club. I mean, we've seen it. Most of the season he's been linked with Arsenal, and then more recently with Liverpool. So I take that with that same pinch of salt that we've had over the last few months. The fact that they've got him sat in front of them just gives them a totally new opportunity ask the same questions that they've been banging on about to Eddie Howe, to in the press conferences, in the stuff that they've been doing, in studios and stuff like that. It just gives them another opportunity to do that. And I think, in fairness, I thought Isak handled them very well. Very much like he's finishing. He was very calm and clinical with it. Didn't give really that much away.
Mark, there's a favour, because there's a couple of people saying that your volume's quite low. It sounds fine from my side, but just turn your volume up slightly up. There's a couple of people saying that it's fine, but there's a couple of people saying that they can't hear you. So God knows. We'll fix it as we go along. As you can see, that we are not in the studio. Well, Mark's in the studio, but I'm not in the studio. So bear with me, because it's hard to manage the volume between the two when we're using separate recording devices. But yeah,
just turn that up a little bit. So
Jesus Christ, that's loud. A little bit. Are you kidding?
It was only a little bit.
The Wembley already.
Loud now?
But yeah, I'm the same as you, mate. But I think the thing that I didn't really appreciate was that the club must have knew that these questions were going to get thrown towards Alexander, and you're thinking, like, can we not just step away from those questions? And I just thought the club put Isak in a difficult situation.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, you would have thought that I don't know whether they get a full briefing on what questions are going to be asked. It's more if certain topics are off the books, they're not allowed to ask about it. They'll be briefed on that, rather than kind of the press saying, I'm going to ask these types of questions. So it probably took the press guys by surprise as well. But it's, as I say, we should be used to it by now. I did think it was telling. I mean, you said there that the difference between kind of Bruno and Isak, you can really see that Bruno's kind of interviews and stuff like that have came on a hell of a lot of a way. I thought he spoke very, very honestly, and kind of, as you say, like, I think it was almost not downplaying the fact that we're at the final, but like just tempering that excitement a little bit, and just kind of a lot more feet on the ground, and like, him admitting the last time around that he kind of got carried away with it all.
Well, the one thing that I like more was the fact that I think it might have been Keith Downey that asked the question. Correct us if I'm wrong, but it might have been, and he said that, "Are you going to get your hair cut again for the cup final?" And Bruno shut that down. Yeah, he shot it down straight away, didn't he? I like that, because him and Joe went a bit over the top, didn't they, bleaching the hair, and they got the little black and white stripes in the side of the head as well. And you're thinking, well, maybe I think it was mentioned that was that Eddie Howe's request, or was that his just thoughts on the whole process? And Bruno said it was him. He's made that decision, which is good, because you think, right, we're focusing on the game itself here rather than the event, which it probably slipped everybody last time. It got away from everybody, and that ourselves included as a fan base as well. I think many people agree that when we're winning Wembley, we were just absolutely just gobsmacked at the fact that we had got there. Now it feels different. I think now it feels like we belong there, and I'm not saying that wasn't the case last time, because of course we deserve to get there, because obviously winning games gets you in the cup final at the end of the day. But now it just feels different. Like I said, it feels like we belong there right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the fact that it was nigh on 25 years since the last time we'd got to a final, the whole occasion was what it was about, and again, us as fans, it was the whole, because there was a huge amount of people that were there that had never been to a final before.
Mm-hmm.
There will be again this time around. So,
well, I was one of them, Mark. Yeah, I was one of them.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it is such a rarity that it happens, and I think the fact that we have so quickly got back does put we're in a much different kind of frame of mind, because it isn't about that it's something completely out of the ordinary. It is, as you say, it's now not quite the norm. We're not at those levels yet, but certainly, regular. We're 2 years down the line and we're back. And you just hope, and I think from again, the things that Eddie's been saying kind of across the last week or two, what came across in the interviews and in any of the other interviews that other players have been doing in this week, is that there is a real mindset change there of like it, we probably admitting the fact that they were a bit overawed by it last time around, because there isn't a huge amount of the players that have even played on that kind of stage and in those kind of finals. So yeah, it is an opportunity, and some of the older people that will be listening and watching will know that we've gone to finals in the past and have been overawed. Even on the second time there wasn't a huge amount of time between the Man United and Arsenal games originally. So we're in a very similar position 2 years apart of doing it. So you just hope that a lot of the lessons have been learned. I think the fact that they've made its decision not to travel down until tomorrow afternoon and just kind of go straight to the hotel, go to the
they mentioned
ground.
logistics quite a bit, didn't they? Like logistically, they're looking at it different, and even when it comes to hotel location as well.
It almost feels like they're treating it just like another London game, another away game in London, and trying to keep everything as normal as possible for the players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think last time I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty positive. Did they get messages from family about the cup final? They did, didn't they? And I think they've highlighted that to say that won't be happening again this year. Once again, it just goes back into what we were saying earlier, that it's not the occasion that we're playing this time. It's that 90 minutes of football, and that's what we're looking at. And do you know what it is? I think like I mentioned before, that the more this week's gone on, the more confident I've grew with the whole situation, and that'll probably change as well. We've still got 24 hours plus.
You'll get the 3:30 on Sunday and see the team lined up.
Ask us this time tomorrow, and we're winning 5-0. But it's, do you know what it is? If we look at the likes of the starting 11 that started last time, there's a handful of changes in there, and obviously the main one is your goalkeeping situation. That Karius was starting goal because of Nick Pope had been sent off, missed the game, and Dubravka was cup tied. We've got a similar sort of dilemma this time around, but this is managerial choice now, where we've got the choice between Nick Pope and Dubravka. And I know that this conversation's been happening for a few weeks now. So we're not going to go back over tracks which we've already laid on the podcast. But who starts for you? What's your personal opinion?
I would start Pope. It's very harsh on Dubravka, given the run that he's had and stuff like that. But I think Pope is although not in actual number, he's the number one keeper at the club. Howe's put his faith in him of bringing him back into the team over the last few weeks. But you wouldn't be surprised if Howe just pulls a cat out of the bag and suddenly slings Dubravka into nets. You cannot call some of the decisions that he makes. I'm other side of the fence. Like I think in a cup competition, because do you know what it is? At the start of the season, a manager probably comes out to the goalkeeping setup and says, right, you're my keeper that's going to be starting Premier League. You're going to get your opportunities in the cup games, and if you perform well in the cup games, that might roll into the Premier League and vice versa. That's what you'd probably expect. I think it would, I agree with you. I think it would be very, very harsh for him to then take that off Dubravka. I think it would be very poor managerial choice when it comes to man management. But at the end of the day, you have to do what's right for the team. You've got to give your team the best opportunity to win the game. I'm probably on the fence right now as to which goalkeeper gives you that opportunity, because yes, you can look at like Nick Pope and shot stopping, and which we know at the end of the day that's the most important thing when it comes to goalkeepers. Of course it is. But then you look at how easy Pope will give the ball away by kicking the ball out and misplacing, and that, which obviously brings you back onto the fact that you're just going to then be giving the ball away for them to then attack your goal again, which it's a vicious circle really when you think about it. But I don't know, if I'm going to put my personal opinion, I'd probably want Dubravka to start.
So there's just two people supporting the same football club that have got completely two different choices when it comes to the starting 11 in goal. So God knows, I would like to hear everybody else's opinion, because I think as a fan base, it probably is split at the moment, which blows my mind.
It's a good dilemma to have, though, isn't it? Right, the fact that you are looking at these two players and thinking, God, you could put either one of them in, and you know they're gonna give you good performances. So I'd rather much rather be in that position than, you know,
last time.
Even though I thought Karius was a good keeper, the fact that he hadn't played and stuff like that, you're going in completely rusty. Whereas this time around, we're not in that situation with whichever one of them ends up being selected. For me, Dubravka's got that match sharpness because obviously he's had a very long run of games. I think that's why he's brought Pope back in, is just to give him a handful of games, getting them up to speed in it. But other than the kicking that we know is an issue, and that's not to say that Dubravka is, you know, bloody Allison or anything like that. He's not amazing with his feet. He's not as bad as Pope.
He's just better.
But I think the rest of the things that you get from Pope when he's on top form far outweighs Dubravka. But Dubravka's got that form at the minute, so it's 50-50 for me.
Yeah, I've not had this conversation with you. I've had it with Decker. I mean, Decker did one of these videos during the week after the PSG beat Liverpool. But during that game, yes, it went the full length that it could possibly have gone. It's gone in extra time and penalties. The major talking point coming from that was the fact that Trent had picked up an injury. It's now been confirmed by Liverpool that he will be missing that cup final. And you're thinking that, yes, we got damage on the left-hand side, the full left-hand side, missing Lewis Hall and Gordon being absolutely ridiculous and getting sent off. Has that helped us out a little bit? Because, yes, we'll look at Trent defensively and think, yes, he can get caught out. Of course he can, especially with, like, so obviously at the time it would have been Gordon. We don't know what happened, but Barnes coming in. Barnes can still do a job there. But Trent offers a hell of a lot more than what a lot of people realise. Like his delivery of a ball is pinpoint a lot of the time. Unbelievable at grabbing assists as well throughout the game. So I think that's probably where my confidence is growing a little bit.
So the thing with Trent is you can look at it both ways. You know it, like what he can give you offensively, but defensively he's horrendous. So you wouldn't mind him being in there from a defensive point of view with what we can do getting at him.
I was kind of looking forward to it, Mark, like because what we had seen in the weeks leading up to it, obviously we saw the Man City game where Doku just goes at him constantly, and you were expecting us to do a similar game when it was, I think it was the following fixture, and it never really happened. Didn't really happen a couple of times, but not very often. So you were hoping that we're trying to take advantage of that, but obviously. I think now, just looking at the comments, there's a couple of suggestions that Slot is playing mind games with us now and saying Trent is a doubt rather than out. Would I say that right?
He's out.
He's 100% out. Yeah.
When you see the way his ankle twists underneath him on the replay, it's awful. There ain't no way he is playing there.
Dr. Walker has spoken.
Exactly. So the worrying thing is they've got like 4 other players that they could choose to play at right back, and you don't know who it's going to be, and that again is a dilemma that Howe's going to be in preparing. Is who are we going to be facing in there? But they've got that across the pitch. You know, other than you'd probably say Canate went off, although probably just
more cramp on it.
You would think the 2 centre backs pick themselves. Probably the front 3, you would think, is pretty much nailed on with probably, I would say, Salah, Gakpo, and Nunez. Midfield, like that chops and changes all the time. So, and again, that's where I look at it and think, whichever 3 that they're picking in there, you look at that PSG game that you mentioned, and as the second half went on, they did seem to massively tire Liverpool, and you think, could that go in our favour with the fitness that we've got? The fact that we've had a full clear week. They've had 3 games in the space of a of a week and 3 difficult games as well, playing PSG twice. So, and even when they made changes, but again, the changes that they can make are unbelievable when you look at the squad of what they can bring on and the quality. But
Eddie thinks that the fact that it went extra time doesn't make a difference. He said that there's enough time to recover from that, which I think that's Eddie probably just trying to take the pressure away from us to a certain degree.
I mean, Slot even mentioned it in, I don't know if you've seen it, but Slot's press conference this morning, he referenced the fact that obviously they played the game. The next day is a day off. The day after that is then a rest day. So they weren't actually getting back together until today and spending some time. And all they were going to be doing was some light work and talking tactics. They ain't going to be training tomorrow. And I know, admittedly, they're not going to be doing a huge amount of drills and stuff like that. And
I think we'll have to take it that the fact that we only played Liverpool just a couple of weeks ago, the fact that there's a lot of preparation when it comes to opposition has probably already been taken there. So I think a large chunk of that has already been set aside and already done. It's probably just a recap on what's happened in the last couple of weeks at Newcastle and probably focus on likes of Barnes and Tino being on left back. They're probably looking at those areas and thinking, right, that's where we can damage them. And we'll notice on Monday night that when we got the ball down the left-hand side, the play kind of just dropped and slowed right down because Tino was coming back on his right, understandably, because he's out of his natural position at right back. So yes, we know for fine well that's an issue that we're going to have to cope with very well, and it just so happens that Liverpool's best player plays on that flank as well. But Tino's got the pace there, of course he does. I think the issue and the thing which I'm worried about is his mistake by Tino, because you know for fine well if he makes a mistake and he makes the wrong decision, then Salah's going to capitalise on that. He's got to be mentally switched on.
Yeah, I mean, he's an unbelievable player, right? There isn't many.
Salah's not too bad either.
Let alone in this league. But it's. I think as the game went on longer on Monday, I think the relationship between Barnes and Livramento changed a little bit in that, because early on, as we're playing, Tino was always looking for that overlap. And that's what was then causing a lot of problems to have to come back. Whereas as the game progressed, they kind of learned from it, and he wasn't doing that as much. He was holding off, which then allowed him to have that ball to then play it from the edges. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if he suddenly chucked Joe Willock in on the left hand side of things again, particularly because of the threat of Salah that we've got down there, and we know that from previous seasons that having Joe Willock and Joe Linton, that little relationship that they had on the left hand side, and then being able to drop in and cover and help out the left back worked marvelously.
Joe Linton does that very well. Yeah,
it gives you. It does then give you the opposite side of the coin, is that it does take away some of your attacking impetus, because there's not as much danger, because we know with Barnes that given that opportunity to cut inside, what he's capable of doing,
Yeah.
So
I think if we stay at that side of the field more, just because you mentioned Barnes, it's going to be a complete different front three to what it was last cup final. Last cup final, you had Maxi on the left, you had Wilson up top, and you had Miguel Almiron on the right hand side. So it's going to be a completely different three. Yes, Isak was on the bench for the last time, which sounds mental. Just how great Alexander is. Alexander the Great, obviously. How good of a player he is.
That was because he was coming back from injury at the time.
And that season was back and forwards between him and Wilson. One would play one game, the other was out and in, because they just kept on matching each other when it came to appearances and goals. But he's a completely different animal now, Isak, and I think a lot of Newcastle fans are probably pinning their hopes on Isak winning us this fixture and bringing that cup home. And yeah, do you know what it is? I think that's a lot of pressure. Very, very. It's a huge amount of pressure, because obviously one of the goal threats in Gordon is not going to feature in the game. And so it was nice to press conferences here from Isak saying to Bruno, I expect a lot from Bruno, and I always want him to deliver me the ball, and basically saying that he's not happy at some points, but it's obviously quite a good relationship that those two have got as players. And do you know what it is? I think if everybody is on top form, and what I mean by that is we've seen the likes of Jacob Murphy just disappear for games, then he comes on and has a decent game. Like we've seen that. We need every player to be top of their game to have a fighting chance at this.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at, I've seen a couple of these over the last few days, but when you look at the two teams side by side, and there's been combined teams and stuff like that, I think when you look at what we've got in, particularly in midfield, in the centre of the park, and that man in the middle up front, we are by far stronger than them in those positions. It's then the other positions that they then look at things in those danger areas. So if we can win those key battles in the middle of the park, in midfield, we can give delivery to Isak. We know what he's capable of doing. He only needs a sniff of a chance. And, he said it himself today. He loves playing against Liverpool because he gets opportunities. He likes to test himself against the best. And, as dirty as he is, Van Dijk is an unbelievable central defender. Horrible, filthy one at that, but he's a very good defender.
Don't sit on the fence, Mark. Jesus.
But again, defensively, there's been times where we haven't looked great, but we're managing to keep things together. But Share needs to be, on his game. Trippier was caught a couple of times on Monday. We're going to need to be careful with Gakpo on the left, getting in behind him, because his legs, to sound like Ed Sheeran, don't work like they used to before. So it's going to be a tough game, right? And we don't expect anything less.
One of the things we do need to talk about, Mark, just because we mentioned the defense there. You've mentioned everybody apart from the main man at the minute, the man that's got all the headlines. It's Mr. Dan Burn, who never in a million years did he think he would have an opportunity to play for Newcastle United, his boyhood team. But he's then gone one step further, and he has been announced to be featuring in the next next lineup for England. And
amazing.
I know the rumours were going around a couple of days ago, but I wouldn't have guessed that, mate. Like, we know he's been great for the... Well, since he came out of football, we know he has. But even more so that he's back in... Well, I don't have to say it again, but even more so that he's back in that centre-back position. We'll just see like how good of a player, and Eddie Howe is very, very complimentary about him in his press conference, and rightly so. And do you know what it is? I'm just absolutely buzzing for him. And I know, Mark, you said you felt like a proud dad earlier on in the group chat. It's just lush, isn't it?
Jokes if you're old enough to be.
It's just lush, and do you know what it is? That can only help going into this cup final as well.
100%. Yeah, his confidence is going to be through the roof, and it's got to be a big roof to fit him in. So like it's brilliant. What a way to go into this weekend and reward for his hard work, because he's been outstanding this season.
And it's probably overdue, Mark. It's a long time overdue.
As you say, since he's came to this club, yes, he's had certain instances where he's had tough games, but hey, for a fact what you're going to get from Dan Burn. He's going to run through brick walls for this club, and I couldn't be any happier than seeing that. I was just waiting for it, because, as you say, there's been rumours the last couple of days. Hope put out a little snippet last night saying he could be announced, and then when it was announced officially today, I was buzzing for him, absolutely buzzing.
Absolutely class.
But as I say, just absolutely deserves it. And again, Joe Linton, he got called up to Brazil along with Bruno Tonali's just been called up today. And it's, again, these are the key differences where you say from where we were 2 years ago, we were going into that thinking that we had a fantastic chance. Obviously, Man United weren't particularly great at the time, still aren't lovely, which is nice. And we're now going in with even more internationals, top level players, and the fact that we've now got Sandro in there. We've got players that are in there. The ones that have been at the club have been there and experienced it. They were there 2 years ago. You look. It's probably all realistically. Livramento is the only one that off the top of my head that hasn't been involved in those levels. Obviously, Barnes has been there and done previously with Leicester. The rest of the team have either done it at this club or have done it on even bigger stages when you look at your likes of Isak, Trippier and stuff like that. Tonali. So
yeah, there's obviously a lot of them that have featured in tournaments when you're thinking about like European football and things like that. Probably right the way through it, and to a certain extent. Shall we
back in the countries there where the like Tonali back in Italy?
Yeah, of course.
Play cup finals, the league, stuff like that. Like all of the level is so much higher than it was, and that's why I just think, from an experience and a mentality point of view, it is different this time, and that is what gives me more hope than we potentially should have, because as I've already said, we know how good Liverpool are. They wouldn't be flying away with the league if they weren't as
and we know.
Do
you know what it is? We're not completely disregarding what Newcastle United are like in cup finals, because we can stink a place out when it comes to cup finals. We are not good when it comes to them, but that has to change.
Well, this will be me fourth, and I'm yet to see you turn up and do anything in them. We just seem to get to the semis and kind of do any more than that. But even then, when we played Chelsea in the semis, we played very well, and we still got beat.
Yeah, no, you're right. But when it comes to the cup finals, like we just don't turn up. Obviously, we've had them against Man U, Arsenal. We've just had Man U a couple of seasons ago, and everybody was really optimistic because Man U was stinking that season, and we just didn't turn up on the day. But once again, I'm going to keep on mentioning it. It may have just been the occasion that got ahead of everybody.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions, send them in as quick as possible. We'll go for another 10 minutes. We do have a question and a donation in from Mr. Josh Stockland, as always. Thanks, Josh. He says, hi, lads. I hope you're both well. Arrived in London earlier today. Massively nervous. It feels real now. Does house start with dubs or pub? We've already touched on that one, so sorry, Josh. He says, hope to bump into the four of you for a pint at some point this weekend. I'm sure we will, Josh. You're obviously a member, and you will be in the Telegram group. So we'll put something in the Telegram group. We'll be at Covent Garden at some point tomorrow night as well. Just keep an eye out.
See at least three of we. Bestie, God knows where he'll be.
Yeah, we'll be around, mate. So we'll drop you a message. So yeah, like I said, anybody got any questions, send them our way, and we'll go through as many as possible. Before we do that, Mark, let's have a bit of a prediction from our side, because we need to do a prediction. The lads have already done a match preview, so make sure if anybody's watching, jump back and go and watch that. It's a great match preview this week. Goes on for about 40 odd minutes, but it's really entertaining throughout. It's just nice having a bit of optimism when it goes into one of these games, and we know it is going to be difficult. Nobody's denying that. We know we've got an absolute mountain to climb, which is probably steeper than that slope towards Gallowgate right now. But having said that, Mark, how do you think it's going to pan out?
This is where all of that confidence and hope that I had just like a few minutes ago talking us up goes flying out the window. I'd love to think that we could do it after all of this time. I think we could take an extra time.
Okay.
Go an extra time at 1-1, take it into there, and I think tired legs in extra time. I think we could nick it.
My issue with going to extra time is that we don't really have the personnel to come off the bench to change things. That's my issue, where Liverpool do have that availability and the option from the bench. I think if we're going to win this, we're going to have to win it in the first 90. I think that's how we're going to do it.
We saw that with them against PSG in the week of that, and that's what I'm saying. They have got quality and they can bring those changes on, but it didn't make a huge amount of difference. And I think, the fact that we're then asking them to go and play another 90 minutes, and that's why it's really important that we do get at them and stretch them and make them do a lot of work and a lot of running.
I think that first goal is crucial, Mark. I think it's huge, the first goal. And do you know what it is? We're just there's a question coming about the last cup final we're in. But I'll go through that in just a minute. In in relation to my opinion about it, like I said, I think if we're winning it, it has to be in the first 90. I'd be very shocked if we'll win it after that because of the reasons I just said. That the options that Liverpool have compared to us are superior at this moment in time. I think I'm expecting more than last time. I'm expecting more from the last performance that I had against Man United in the last Carabao Cup final. It has to be better than that because we weren't great. Yes, we had a great opportunity at the very start. Well, Maxi had a shot, didn't he, early on in the game? And you're thinking, oh, we're up for this. It soon died off after that, and we just completely lost it. Players, especially the midfield, all over the place. I think, like, just to refer back to what you were saying as well, that midfield is going to win us the game if we are to win it. We know how good those three players and that trio of players can be in Joelinton, Bruno, and Tonali. What we saw when we went on that unbelievable run this season, it was down to them. And obviously the switch up that we had in the midfield with Tonali sitting that little bit deeper. Isaac mentions that he loves Bruno playing higher up the field because he's closer to him to give him the ball. So that's what you want. And it just goes back to what we're saying. You need all three of those players to be top of their game along with the rest of them on the field as well. If I'm going to give a score prediction, though, I think we might nick it, And I know I'll probably get clipped by Liverpool fans, but I'm a Newcastle fan now. I have to be optimistic because there's no point going if I'm not going to be. And I think we might nick it. I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 Newcastle United victory. Imagine, though, mate. Like, I'm getting carried away, but imagine.
Hey, scoring a goal would be lovely. Again, we've got to 4 finals and we're yet to score a goal. Like, just to have that moment of joy will be incredible. Just to have that in a final, and as you say, if it's the first goal, which could be absolutely huge, if we go 1-0 up, that roof is going to come off that place. And again, that I think that is something that we really, really have to get a grip on this Sunday is the atmosphere, because last time we talk about the team not turning up and performing. Us as supporters and us as fans didn't turn up and perform.
We didn't.
We absolutely need to be all over that. And I do worry a bit, given the fact of what we've seen this season at home, and even in some of the away games as well. So, if you, I
think what we can take from it, Mark, like throughout the season, I think what we can take from it is that we don't. I know I've gone right the way through this and said players have to be at top of their game to win that game, but that's probably down to the opposition being Liverpool. Okay, so I'm saying if we need to win that, if Liverpool are top of their game, we need to match it more. So that's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying that we'll have to perform well to win the game because we saw it against West Ham. It wasn't an enjoyable watch from start to finish. We did struggle our way through that game at times, but at the end of the day, we came away with the 3 points, which is what matters in football. Apart from the weekend where it's the cup that matters. Just to refer back, there's a couple of comments and people saying don't get too pissed the night before. You're never going to stop people going out and having a drink. Of course you're not. It's just you just don't let that affect the next day, which I've already had a bit of a rant about that, and I don't think it massively does. I think once again it was the occasion that got ahead of everybody, not the hangovers. Yeah. It was massively the occasion. It feels different this time. I know I keep on saying it, but it does. Whether or not you're going to the match or just watching as a fan, no matter what your situation is, I think you probably have to agree with us to a certain extent there. And I think it doesn't feel like we're there just to be a number now. It seems like we're going there to try our best, and I think that's the difference. If I go through,
that's all we can ask for, right?
Exactly, mate.
All
exactly.
We want. We want the team to go, turn up, give a good account of themselves, and try and get us that victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we don't want to go there and just roll over.
Yeah, there's let's have a look. So, just following on from what Woody Woody's also followed up with a donation that says, "No question, just one time, Bruno is winning it for us. That's all we ask, mate. Just the once. That's all we ask. The one time, and I'll die a happy man, mate." Next question is from Blue Rhythm Boy that says, "Are we stronger and better placed to win than the Man United final? Seems many think Man U was a better chance to win. I'm not so sure." I think there's pros and cons of both sides of it. I think the pro massively is the opposition. like I said earlier, we should have won that game, but we didn't go into it in great form. We really struggled. I think the form picked up afterwards. We just weren't in a great situation, and it was a bit of a circus behind the scenes when obviously Nick Pope had got that red card against Liverpool. The whole goalkeeping situation, we had the third choice goalkeeper in goal. It just wasn't great. When it comes to personnel on the field, though, of course, right now we're stronger than what we were previously. That's starting 11, not necessarily bench. I don't think there's much in it, but when you're looking at the options from the bench, but the issue this time is the opposition. It's Liverpool. Like we've mentioned so many times in this one, that they've been unbelievable this season. They're running away with the Premier League. That's almost about to get gifted to them, and rightfully so. But we've played them twice already this season. We didn't turn up. They didn't even get out of first gear at Anfield. St James's Park was a different story, which we took the game to them.
It's the opposite way around. We absolutely battered them, and
exactly.
Again, that's the quality that they've got.
I think there's pros and cons to both, and I was more confident I was going to get a result against Man United than what I am going into this one. But do you know what it is? I wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't be shocked if we can nick this.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I think there was almost an expectation, given the fact that how bad Man United were at the time, and that we'd never have a better opportunity to do it. And I think that probably made we take our eyes off the ball a little bit. And as we've already discussed, the whole occasion piece, I think this time around, everybody is laser focused on it. I mean, Bruno even said it in the games previous, of that they've had an eye on it, and it's probably impacted some of the performances and the way that they've played in the preceding games. We saw it, last weekend when we were at home. Wasn't the weekend? It was the one before.
Brighton
at home, where they weren't quite snappy in the tackle. It was a little bit half-arsed and stuff like that, because they're just. It's human nature, right? You're always thinking about round the corner, because for a lot of the players there, it's a huge opportunity for them to win some silverware, and a lot of them their first opportunity to win some. And like we've waited so bloody long for this, that every single one of those players could go down as a legend in Newcastle's history.
Mate.
Yeah, like you've got a huge opportunity here to put your name in, and I know Bruno talks about it all the time, about putting his name in Newcastle's history, but every single player has got that opportunity to write a legacy at Newcastle, to be the first player, the first team to win us some silverware since the 19. Like how
don't even say it, mate. Like
I know that, like that's the. It is a massive opportunity. It's a huge task. We know it, given the opposition that we're against. But typically, we raise our games when we come up against the big teams.
Yeah.
So you just hope that that's what we do. We're looking at this and say, what's the worst that can happen? Let's get at them. Let's give them a bloody good game. Let's not roll over on this one. Let's really take it to them.
And let's make some fucking noise as well as a fan base. Make some noise, because I think everybody's been really critical.
We don't do quiet.
But don't do quiet. Hashtag don't do quiet. I think we need to be that 12 man. We know how important the 12 man can be at St James's Park. This is a neutral venue, so let's go make that ours. Like that's our second home on Sunday. That's our second home, right? So I think fan base, we are huge. We are crucial in that one as well. We can push.
And
those
I hope
lads
everybody
over
appreciates that. The important part that we do play in this situation. We've talked about it at home with the atmosphere. The players have mentioned it as well, of how important the crowd is. You've never been needed more than you have on Sunday.
Agreed, massively. We're going to call it a night, everybody. We've been going for 45 minutes there. So just a random live that we've put together, because I just I just need to talk about Newcastle some more, mate. Like, I'm absolutely buzzing this week. I really am, and I think now it's hit home that we're in another cup final, man. Like, I'm about to go to London and spend the weekend with me best mates watching Newcastle United in a cup final. Not you, Newcastle United in a cup final. And do you know what it is? Like, I never, ever, ever thought I would say that. Like, growing up as a Newcastle fan, I've said it twice in 3 seasons, man. Like, that's unbelievable. And it's going to continue as well. It really is going to continue. But what we need to do, we just need to get that monkey off our back, don't we? And we just need to get that first one. We need to get our first trophy, and hopefully the rest will follow. And why not do it on Sunday? Why not, man? So fingers crossed, mate. Anything you would like to add before we go?
I've had my suit measured. I've packed my cans. I'm on my way to London town.
we'll hopefully meet up with a lot of you if we do bump into you as well. If you remember this one, check out the Telegram group. We'll be posting where we're going as well, and hopefully be honestly, it'd be lush to bump into everybody as well. It was great last time.
See you. Come and say hello. Don't
exactly. Be shy. Come give her a big hug, man. Never mind hello. Come give her a big hug. Because we might need it. But yeah, thanks everybody. Enjoy your weekend, whether you're going to London or not, whatever you're doing, whatever you decide to do, wherever you're watching the game. If you are there, then very lucky. Just realize how lucky you are to be there, and just make as much noise as possible. If you're watching at home, if you're watching in the pub, just look after each other. It's hopefully going to be a fantastic weekend, which will roll into next week as well. But yeah, what you guys are doing, everybody. See you later. We can't win it, Mark. We can't win it.
Come on.